Welcome, everybody, to Secret Sauce, the show where we unpack business tips, life hacks, and advice from industry leaders. I'm Karly.iacono. Today, I am pleased to be joined by Rebecca Machinga, the partner at Withum and head of the real estate group. Rebecca, so great to see you. I'm glad you could make some time to join us. How are you?
I'm great, Carly. Thanks so much for having me on your show.
My pleasure. So, we are in a brand new year, and I am sure everybody is most excited to talk about taxes and accounting. No, just kidding. They're not. But you are, without question, one of the most important people in the room as it comes to tax planning. And it is, I think, an overlooked part of business in general. The value of CPAs and the value of the savings that you can bring clients is just incredible. So I want to dive in today to, and we're really just going to scratch the surface, some of the things that you think our clients should be sharing and thinking about as they look towards 2023. So where would you like to kick it off?
Sounds great. So I have a couple of things that I think are important for this year for people to think about and remember as they get into their year, as they get into talking to their accountants, and as they get into, really going through the year and making sure that they're doing everything they can to save money. Because a lot of my clients, they're one of the top things that they care about is how much money do I have in my pocket at the end of the day after I have to pay Uncle Sam. So we'll dive in with a couple ideas. The first is like-kind exchanges. So like-kind exchanges is one of the great opportunities for deferring tax. If you own a building and you want to sell it and you're willing to invest in something new, and let's just say you have a really big gain on this particular building sale, you have an opportunity to defer that tax by doing a like-kind exchange. Now, there's all kinds of parameters around it, and they're very strict. So you have to make sure that you comply with deadlines, on the calendar. But it is a really good opportunity if you're looking to reinvest your proceeds into another building. So
That
that's
is,
one thing.
I have to interrupt you. That is without question my favorite part of the tax code. Very near and dear to my heart, as you might guess, being on the capital markets 1031 exchange side of the business. So, yes, I am hoping all of our viewers are extremely familiar with 1031 exchanges, otherwise known as like kind exchanges. But if you are not, this is an invaluable tool to defer capital gains, as Rebecca just said. So, thank you for bringing that up. And on to number two.
On to number two. Number two, cost segregation studies. I'm sure many of you have heard of these. This is an opportunity to take that building that you purchased and break it up into smaller components that you can write off faster than if you had not done a cost segregation study. So it is an engineering study. You do need somebody that knows what they're doing and is, I won't say licensed to do it, but is very well versed in the tax code and knowing exactly what the IRS will accept. But it's a great opportunity to be able to write off that property purchase a lot faster than you would have otherwise.
I have personally done cost segregation studies. I have clients who've done them. I think it's a really underutilized tool. So thank you for bringing that up. Anyone who has questions on cost seg, obviously we can't go into as much detail as we'd like today, but call Rebecca, call me. We can certainly point you in the right direction. Great tool.
Absolutely. So the next thing is bonus depreciation. Bonus depreciation does dovetail with cost segregation studies a little bit. So bonus depreciation is the ability to write off certain classes of assets right up front. And if you do a cost segregation study, certain buckets within certain buckets of costs that you have would be able to be written off fully. Now that was for 2022. Starting in 2023, bonus depreciation is starting to sunset. So now we're at the ability to deduct 80% of any of the qualified property in 2023, 60% the next year, goes all the way down, phases out at the end of 2026. So if you miss the cutoff and end up getting something placed into service at the end of December, it's a shame, but you know what? You still have that 80% opportunity going into 2023 and forward until it does sunset in 2026.
Do you see bonus depreciation tied to political waves? Like, do you think this might flip flop in the future, or do you think this is something that is going to phase out? Of course, this is speculative, but it seems to me like it comes, it goes, but when it's here, it's a fantastic benefit. We're just not sure how long it'll be in place.
Right. It's all political, Carly, all of
Right.
it. And the Omnibus Act that just came out that, we're looking to, it was not addressed, meaning, of course, everybody wants it to stay around 100%, but the sunset was not addressed, and which just came out earlier this week. So, it's all political. We will see.
All right. So get it while it's here. 100% if it's placed in service by the end of 2022, right? And then it goes to 80% 2023. So
Correct.
Still a good value.
Yep, for sure. And the last thing I'll touch on is the business interest deduction. So way back when, before there was any limitation, any interest that you had was able to be deducted. So now there's a limitation. Now you can elect out, if you're a real property trade or business, you can elect out of that limitation and basically be able to continue to deduct all of your interest expense. If you have mortgages, that's obviously a huge thing. The trade-off for doing that election is there are certain classes of property that you are not allowed to take bonus depreciation on, which I mentioned earlier. So one of those classes is the qualified improvement property. So for those property owners who are going in and, let's say, refreshing their lobbies or doing some tenant improvements, those things would ordinarily be eligible for bonus depreciation. But if you do elect out, you cannot do that. So there is a trade-off. It's definitely worth an analysis. If there's a property that you're planning on doing a lot of improvements to, maybe you don't want to make that election quite yet, because it is a permanent election. Once you make it, you can't back out of it. So again, planning with your service provider is a great thing to do, and making sure that you're taking advantage of it as much as you can.
That's really my takeaway from your last point, is that there's often parallel paths and you have to pick one. So even just listening to this great advice that you're sharing isn't enough. You need to call Rebecca, you need to call Withum, you need to call your CPA, whatever firm that might be, and do the planning, because it's not just okay, this is the current law, let's check the box. There's a lot of different variables, which I think people overlook.
Right.
Yeah, very good point. Thank you. Any other advice, maybe not related to the tax code, or anything else, personal or otherwise, that you'd like to share with our listeners today?
Yeah, I think one of the things that that's kind of overlooked in the real estate industry is this whole, concept of cybersecurity. There's a million different data breaches out there. There's a lot going on, and I think a lot of our developer clients and our landlord clients don't necessarily think about cybersecurity as much as they should. So I definitely encourage you to talk about it, within your organizations. Figure out where where the soft spots are. It's interesting because when could a cybersecurity breach affect you the most? Probably right at the end of the month when you're looking to collect rent on the 1st, right? And everybody's going to be wiring money in, and guess what? Your system is blocked. You can't collect your rent. I've seen some cybersecurity breaches. They are not fun. They are scary. They are costly. So I just encourage you, as a developer, as a landlord, to really think about the implications of that and make sure that you're getting your systems tested and making sure that you're covered as best that you can.
So. Great reminder. I think of that kind of like insurance. You don't realize how much you needed it until it's too late. So it really does make sense to be proactive and take care of it before you actually need it.
Yeah, hindsight is 2020 for sure.
For sure, exactly. Any personal tips or other things you'd like to share today?
Well, I have 2 mottos that I live by, and you and I will debate this one, but one of them is, it is what it is.
It's not. I hate that.
Well, but that dovetails into my second one: worry about what you can control.
Okay, fair.
If you want to make a difference and you don't want to go with that, it is what it is, then do something about it. But if you're not going to do anything about it, then worry about what you can control. There's a lot that you can control. There's a lot that you can't or choose not to. So I would say choose those battles wisely. And, in this season of, just getting through the holidays and going into a new year, think about that and think about what you want to, relieve that stress and be able to not worry about everything that you can't control. So that's how I live my life.
It's true. I totally agree with number 2. Finding a sense of peace, however you can, is crucial for living a good life and moving forward. So can't control it all. You're right. Thank you for that reminder. Well, this has been great. I really appreciate you sharing these planning tips as we go into 2023. I think it's very helpful and good reminders for everyone listening. So we appreciate your time. I know this is your busy season, or actually it seems like it's always your busy season, but I know this is an especially challenging time of year. So thank you so much for joining us. And to everyone watching, that was Secret Sauce. We're happy you tuned in, and we look forward to seeing you again very soon. Thanks, Rebecca.
Thank you, Karly. Take care.
You too.